Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me again today. Today's another episode on chronic illness. About 15 million people in England alone have a chronic long-term health condition or illness for which there's currently no cure and which are managed with drugs and or other treatment. This include conditions like Crohn's, Parkinson's, arthritis, diabetes, and so many more. The physical symptoms experienced can also lead to mental health challenges as well. We met the amazing Hasty a fortnight ago, who's been managing his Crohn's disease for about 15 years now, and at present is navigating his way through a recent diagnosis of gastroparesis. If you haven't seen this episode, please do look. Check this out. I will put the link in the comments below. Everyone's experience of chronic illness, of course, is so very, very different and really unique, and I wanted to bring that into focus. So next, you'll meet another amazing guest, contributor, and now I'm thrilled to say friend, who also manages a chronic illness, which he will share more about with you. I have to say, I feel an incredible sense of gratitude and privilege being able to talk openly and honestly with a range of people about their life experiences, their real stories, and I always, without fail, walk away feeling incredibly inspired, moved, and motivated by their journeys, whatever they've experienced and wherever and however they find themselves feeling. Everyone has a story and challenges that come their way in different forms, perhaps. But we can experience similar emotions, and I really value enormously when guests feel they can share them with me and with us. So I know you're going to find this next episode, again, inspiring, humbling, a pause for thought and reflection in our own lives. Thank you. So welcome everybody to episode 6, series 1 of Roopa Vyas-Smith Does Coffee Chai Chat. Today, I continue the theme of chronic illness by chatting with another amazing and inspiring guest. He was born premature with one kidney, and a number of years later, he may reveal his age to us. He's an adventure challenger. He's a triathlete and a successful entrepreneur. Wow. I bet you can't wait to hear this story. Just to say that everybody's journey of chronic illness, managing and living with their condition is unique. And today's episode, like last week's with Hasty, this will be another humbling, brave, and inspiring journey. So I'm going to ask my guest to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his chronic illness. So over to you, lovely guest.
Thanks, Roopa, and big thank you for inviting me on. My name is Surbs Badhan. I am 21. No, I'm joking. I'm 44, years young. And yeah, I since birth, I was born with one kidney, which was just pelvic at the front, not the back. And it was also, it was diseased from birth. So I've had CKD, chronic kidney disease, since birth. And just so to explain what chronic kidney disease is, it's basically the degradation of your kidney, and it has certain stages. Everybody gets it as they get older, to be fair. But, there's varying degrees. 1 to 5 is normally levels. Obviously 5 lead to dialysis, basically. So I was born with that level, not level 5, but I was born with low level CKD from birth with one kidney. And really it was, I mean, obviously I don't remember much from my early years, but I had to, I was basically on the age of 9, I had to go to hospital a couple of times. So basically I had a kidney issue. I collapsed over Christmas. unfortunately. And what was happening was there's a tube which links the kidney to the bladder.
Right.
Now, when you go to the toilet, what was happening was the urine was going back from the bladder back to the kidney. And obviously that contains toxins, which was then infecting my kidney. And it would unfortunately making the kidney worse. And thankfully, Great Ormond Street, an amazing hospital for children, looked after me, and they gave me the medications, which I had to take for a couple of years while they figured out what to do. So at the age of 12, I went back into hospital to have the tube effectively pinned up so that the urine wouldn't come back in the kidney, which basically meant I had a C-section, because obviously having a pelvic kidneys at the front. When the women told me they've had a C-section or when they had a baby, I kind of say, yeah, I know what you mean. And I get this really weird look like, you're a man. How do you know how it feels? I'm like, I do know how it feels. Because at a very young age, unfortunately, fortunately, because they fixed the issue. And it was a tough time. But to be fair, looking back at my childhood, I was always very upbeat. I was always, I think children are very resilient. And I see it in my own child. And I didn't really get beaten. But there was one day that actually got me after the operation. When they did it, I effectively had 3 tubes coming out of my abdomen, and that was scary. And going to the toilet really, really hurt. And there was one day where it really hurt. I kind of gave up. Dad and my brother at that time, and I said to them, "This is it. I've had enough." And that was one day, possibly my whole life. It got me. That's the one time it beat me. That one day when I was about 12 years old.
Wow.
But after that, it got better. And then I was normal again. I was a normal child. After everything healed, I was a very good tennis player, football player. I was always into sports. I got into gym training. And then in my early to mid 20s,
can I just ask, just before we go into the early to mid 20s? So obviously you had this first op procedure at the age of 9, and then another one at 12. Yeah. And as you say, children are very resilient, and you had a day that was tough by the sounds of it, and then back upbeat. How do you think, were there any days other than that where it kind of felt really tough? Or as a child, did you just kind of go with it, and as soon as things started to feel better? Because I'm conscious that there may be people, Surbs, that will be watching this, that may be parents of younger people that have this diagnosis, or maybe themselves further on in this journey. And part of what is important to do is to normalize situations that can feel challenging, and to know other people have experienced things. So it's really interesting to know that as a child, your resilience just kicked in, which often does with kids, actually. Then you felt a lot better. You started sports again. And then you kind of hit your early 20s. Between the age of 12 and then your early 20s, because obviously that's the teenage period, and that in itself can be challenging, and can have its own things going on for people. So was there anything that came up for you during that time with your diagnosis, or did it really only start again in your 20s?
No, it's a great question. And I think back to it. And when I was in Great Ormond Street, this was pre-operations. This is when I first when I had my first relapse over Christmas. So I was in Great Ormond Street for 3 to 4 weeks. That's what they call today year 7, first year senior school. And I remember being in Great Ormond Street, and my sister, she's giving her age away there a bit, but she's a bit older than me. And she was with me for the 3-4 weeks, and she was a stellar of strength. My poor mum was great in hospitals. To see a child ill, I guess it's hard. I couldn't now relate to that. Yeah, but my sister was there, and what I think going back to it, because I was in Great Ormond Street Hospital, there were other children with not just kidney but all kinds of stuff going on. And I know there was a boy in my ward called Stephen, and he passed away, I think, around that time. So I saw kids worse off than me.
Oh, that must have been very tough to have seen.
Yeah, I was. I think my sister was more affected than I was, but I was in the zone at that time. I was like, I just want to go back to school. I want to get
Yeah.
back to playing football. I just, I was just reading comic books and things, and I just wanted to go back. But I think because I was seeing other people, other kids worse off than me, I thought I was probably, you know what, I probably thought to myself, I'm okay because compared to these kids. I think
Yes.
that's probably what has normalised it. When it came to the operation, again, I was in a hospital which is no longer around anymore. It's Shaftesbury Avenue Hospital, bang in Soho.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, I was in a ward full of people who had issues. That obviously was much harder because I came out of this operation and you know as a 12 or 13-year-old with 3 tubes coming out of you, and when they had to extract those tubes out, it was pretty horrific.
Yeah.
But I think in your mind, just thinking, right, I just want to go back to normality. Like if it happened now, it's a different thing. You're an adult. You people are getting more fearful and scared of life as you get older. You're kind of fearless at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
You're fearless. I was fearless,
Yeah.
and I think maybe that's just my trait. I still am. I'm quite a risk taker, but by
Mm-hmm.
nature. And I think then I was just thinking, right, this is going to get better. It can't get much worse. And my youth, between the 12 and 16, was a lot of hospital appointments, obviously, to make sure that the operation was successful. But
Okay.
it all came back fantastically well. So thanks to those surgeons whoever did their job, did an amazing job on me, and allowed me to lead between the teenage years. Because obviously during puberty, obviously one of the things, because my kidney was playing up at that age during puberty, the adrenal glands, which is also linked to height,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't kick in for a while. So I was the shortest in my year for a couple of years. So once they fixed what was going on, suddenly my height rocketed. And I was
Wow.
thankfully able, that's when I really, once my scar healed and I was back to sport, I just excelled at athletics, football, hockey, tennis. And then as a kid, I was thinking, wow, having operations allowed me to become, you know, more what I want to be, more sporty, basically. So it all
Yeah.
kind of, I'm very fortunate because a lot of children, it doesn't work out that way,
Yeah.
especially back in the early 90s, mid 90s. Medical equipment and advancements are now way beyond what they were back then.
Yeah.
And so they did an amazing job, amazing job.
That's absolutely incredible. And I can, kind of hear in your voice the gratitude that you feel, and obviously amazing support from your family, which makes a big difference. As you mentioned, your sister, your parents, and other family members, and also having, Great Ormond Street is an incredible hospital. And as you mentioned, this other hospital, which isn't there anymore in Soho, but we are incredibly fortunate to have the NHS and amazing doctors and medics and nursing staff and support staff. So, it sounds like already an incredible journey, but I want to explore now further the kind of next chapter and a little bit about that. But what I want to sort of ask you a little bit about is, how are you now managing your condition? Because having a chronic illness doesn't just go away. We learn to manage it. It's not like it's suddenly cured. Things crop up. There can be, people can experience little mini relapses or larger relapses. And so what I'd like to find out from you, Surbs, is what has kind of helped you and how are you managing things now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think I will condense it. It's quite an obviously convoluted story, but in my late 20s, so like mid to late 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and it was during, I was an employee at the time. I was working for a job, and they were having a few issues, and they kind of said that, naturally, can you take some extra time off? I'm paid. And during that time, I didn't have a checkup for a while. So I rang my GP and had a blood test, and they did a blood pressure check. And they called me back a few days later saying, look, we've seen something and it's really concerning us. Can you come back in, have another blood test? And basically they were saying my kidney function has suddenly was, compared to 5 or 6 years ago, had completely changed. Now in that time I became quite obsessed with the gym. I was, you know, 5-6 stone heavier than I am now. I mean, I'm talking muscle bulk, so you know, shoulders up here, or massive chest, and you know, like what early 20-year-olds do. You know, go to the gym. How much can you bench? Or that kind of guy. You know, that complete beefcake idiot. Anyway, so I was learning myself.
It's who you were at the time. That's okay.
Yeah, no, you know, there's sometimes. But I was obviously eating badly in terms of I was eating too much, probably too much protein. I was eating, you know, I wasn't looking after myself as much. I was just literally, I could eat what I want, train hard, and be okay. But, you know, what you eat is what you are, right? And anyway, I had another emergency appointment. I went in and they said, look, we think you're on the way to dialysis. And you know, my wife was with me by the time, by the way.
Oh my gosh, I feel shocked hearing that. How did you feel?
It was a complete, I said, are you joking? Look at me. I'm almost a bodybuilder and you're telling me I'm going to be dialysis. I said, you're having a lot. But they showed me the results and, you know, my degree was medical related. So I knew exactly what they were saying. And I was literally hit from the side. They didn't know what hit me. And, you know, my wife was really upset. And it was like, wow. And it really, for 2-3 months, I wasn't sure what to do. They kind of said, get your stuff, your stick, get everything ready, because Southeast Asians, people from that descent, and organ donors are very few, right? There's not that many, you know. If you're like, so basically, that's what they're kind of trying to say to me now. And
oh my gosh!
I know, and I remember, you know, having another appointment, and I kind of just said, look, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. Something just clicked. I realized within myself, something has to change here. What have I been doing wrong? So I realized I was pretty stressed, overstressed. I was doing things I didn't want to do. Had toxic people in my life, toxic job. So I, not straight away, but over 2-3 months, studied what can I change my mindset? What can I change from what I'm putting into my mouth? What am I eating? You know, what am I doing wrong? I lost 4 or 5 stone of muscle mass weight. I got rid of all that lifestyle. And a very long story short, within a couple of years, I shaved off 5 stone. I quit my job. I started businesses. I started trying to become not the financial freedom thing you see on the internet, all this, but I thought, how can I be savvy with money so I don't have to worry about it as much, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things my consultant said, my kidney consultant said, Surbs, the only way you can beat this thing is if you remove every stress from your life. People, family, friends, colleagues, whatever it is. If anything is causing you stress, stress is the number one killer, not just for your kidneys, but for your brain, for your heart, everything. That, to be fair, is the one lesson from 2007, I think it was, he's told me. I still know him very well. He's an amazing guy. He said, you remove that, your condition will be okay, and your life is much better. And that's what I do now. It was a really harsh lesson to learn, and I did it. And so I quit everything. I improved my nutrition. I started studying fasting. So I implemented intermittent fasting, which is basically skipping breakfast, by eating lean, so eating fats, eating moderate, not too much protein, cutting back on carbohydrates, training, but more cardio-based trainings for my heart, and burning all the visceral fat, not the stuff on the outside, but the stuff that envelopes the inside. Because I was effectively, all the fat that was covering my kidney was probably causing issues. And as soon as that happened, I had an appointment about 3 years later, so about 2010, and the consultant called me in, and he had a real scowl on his face, looked like this. And he said, what have you changed in the last 12 months? And I thought, oh God, here we go. Because I knew I made the changes. I said, I'm fasting, I'm eating this, I'm eating that. These are the changes I made. He goes, well, your GFR, which is the kidney reading, has improved by 25%. He goes, it's amazing. What have you done? I said, well, this is what I've done. And then the following 6 months later, it went up another 10%. Then the following year later, it went up another 25%.
My God, Surbs, that is extraordinary.
The kidney function improved. So going back to your original question, how am I living with it now? Well, it's not robotic, but it's an incredibly focused and what's the word? A very intense lifestyle. People who know me, I'm very laid back, easygoing, but people who really, really know me, there's very few. I'm incredibly focused, incredibly intense about what I eat, how much I train. I train 2-3 times a day. You know, I eat properly. Yeah, I have some moderate snacks here and there. I'm human, but
Yeah.
a lot. But I measure my blood pressure constantly. But I'm on no meds. I've come off meds completely. My blood pressure is athletic. My resting heart rate is 45. I'm an athlete now. I am actually you're going back to my brand, Relentless Challenge. I'm an adventure athlete, and people sponsor me now to do extreme sports, raising money for kidney disease and liver and heart disease. It's all about how you live your life and how, every week I check, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? How can I be more focused? How can I remove stresses from my life? And it meant some tough choices. It meant removing certain family members from my life. I mean, not cutting off, but keeping the positive people close and negative people away. And that's a very hard thing to do, especially when you come from an Asian culture family where you have to be very tight. So it's not a robotic lifestyle, but it's a very focused and self-absorbed lifestyle because it benefits my kidney. And I have to think, especially with a child, I'm going to live as long as possible. And the only way to do that is to be happy within myself.
Yeah.
Make sure my brain is clear, my body clean, everything. So that's how I manage it. I manage it daily, weekly. I write things down, I journal everything. And I have an amazing vision of how I want my life to be. For personal, forget my family, just what I'm going to do for the next 5 years. And if I'm in a good place, then everything around me is going to be in a good place. And that's how
I think whatever you're doing has, in many ways kept you not just surviving, but thriving, Surbs.
Yeah.
That's what I hear from your journey, and a very tall order to actually be told, cut out all stress, because life has its stressors in any way, shape or form. But what you seem to have done is when, the potential of the life that you wanted to lead was kind of slipping away, you've really brought life into your hands. And that is, it's an incredible thing for me to hear, and I'm sure for others to hear as well. I mean, would it be fair to say that you've almost reversed your condition?
Yeah. My GFR reading has gone up. So the kidney function reading has gone up from what it was in 2007 to what it is now.
Wow.
And I think when it hit, I mean, I've done a lot of challenges. I don't know whether you've seen, Roopa, but, I've been to the Arctic. I raced huskies across the Arctic in 2013. That's where my brand came alive. And I thought, how can I help people? If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that, because I'd like to know a little bit about how this experience has changed you. And I think what you're doing now is very much related to that. So please do share that with us.
Which part?
So a little bit about, how the experience has sort of changed you, and then how that's resulted in you, being sponsored to do these challenges. I mean, that's extraordinary from where you were at age 9, having your first operation, to now. I mean, when we just, we've talked about it in just a few moments of time, but that would be really interesting, I think, for us to hear.
Well, I was on the tube in 2012 after the Olympics, and everyone's on a hype there. I mean, if you remember back to the Olympics, everybody was on a high. The Olympics in London was amazing, and I was looking through, and at that time, everything was going well. My kidney condition had improved dramatically, and then I was reading through. I was always thinking, from one, I'm ultra fit, but I'm not doing anything about it. All I'm doing is training, and I was thinking, how can I help? How can I help? But I wasn't really focused. And then I saw this small little ad in the Evening Standard on the tube home. And it was like, are you up for an Arctic adventure? I thought, yeah, you know what, let me ring this number. So I rang the number, and it was this northern guy. And he said, yeah, this is what we go to the Arctic every year. I'll send you a pack if you're interested. So he sent me a pack, and I was like, yeah, signing up. So I signed up, and then I had to train for it because it's extreme. It's minus 35 degrees, 250 miles. You have 5 of your own huskies, which you have to look after, feed, and hook up every night. And so I trained, and then I flew off to Norway, Tromsø, and then 4 Brits and 1 Norwegian. We went up and down ice mountains, and it was one night, no mobile phones either. There was no reception. One night, it was a massive storm, and I mean, people, even the Norwegian guy who lived there, was a little bit worried. So I loved it. that's me, right? I was like, this is half of me was scared, am I going to live? Half of me was like, this is what I paid for, this is what I came here for. And I was there in this tent and I was sharing with this Welsh guy, and I just lay there and thought, this is life. This is what I want to do. And that's when the idea, I said, I'm going to keep doing this. I raised about, I think, £10,000 for that event for
Wow.
the kidney charity, and for getting a
Amazing.
dialysis machine, part of a dialysis machine paid for, to come over from the US to here. And I thought I can do more of this to help other, not just kidney patients, but heart patients, diabetic, liver, whatever it is, mental health, start coming into it. And that's when Relentless Transform came home, and I said to Tomorrow, I said, this is what I want to do. I need to think of a brand. I need to think, we were just launching our marketing agency downstairs, and I was coming into that kind of brand awareness stuff. So I thought, what am I doing? I'm relentless. All my life, I've been relentlessly fighting this thing. And now I'm going to be relentlessly helping people. And that's how Relentless was always going to be part of it. Then I thought, well, I'm doing challenges, right? And it became a challenge. So I started doing parkour, which is like running, street running, off wall building. I went to a few classes of that. I flew around Europe. I was basically getting up 4 a.m, running to T5, jumping on a plane in my tracksuit bottoms, by the way, doing parkour in Zurich and Amsterdam, running back to that airport that same day, flying back to T5, running back home, and then looking after my kid the next day. That was my life,
Wow.
He was a newborn, and my wife obviously needed my help to look after him. That's relentless. And I obviously got a lot of interest on Instagram and what else? My blog, I think it was, and Twitter mainly. And they said, look, we love your story. It's unbelievable what you've come from and where you've moved to. We want to be part of your journey? And they did. I got sponsored to do major challenges from 2020. And unfortunately, after setting up that story, setting up family to go traveling, well, we were one of those families. Sold business, houses, everything. We sold everything. And
Right.
4 days before flying, the WHO announced COVID, the pandemic, and all the things were blown apart. But without being down about it, it looks like they're all coming back online next year. So
Yes.
I will be going again, and I'm getting everything back on track. So
that's unbelievable. And, you are relentless in every way. And it's just absolutely extraordinary to hear that. If you had to kind of think of maybe a few things that sort of keep you in, what is it? I mean, is it this sort of, is it really about just surviving and thriving? What is it deep down inside, Surbs, that motivates you, that got you from that 9-year-old to the 44-year-old today, being sponsored to do incredible challenges?
Yeah. Well, it all revolves around, I think we live in a culture now where, and this isn't apply to all conditions, so that's a disclaimer. Sometimes people have issues which need, medication and whatever they need to do. So
yes, absolutely.
I don't want to be one of these people that say you don't need medication. People do, but I'm a massive believer that the brain, the mind, and I'm a scientist. Remember, I'm not into this alternative medicine stuff. I don't take any of that stuff either. But I'm a true believer that the brain, that is lots unexplored, releases stuff that helps you. Now, I'll reverse something, and I'm just a human being like anybody else. If I can do it through mental training, physical training is the easy part. Anybody can run a treadmill, anybody can lift weights, anybody can play sport and lose or gain or whatever it is you need to do, right? But as well as doing the lifting and the running and all that kind of stuff, this is what you have to train as much as that. If you do a mental training exercise once a week or once a month, how strong is your mental mindset going to be? It has to be days. It has to be every day. It has to be who are you deep down inside? What do you want from life? How are you going to get it? That's it. Simple as that. What's the plan? And how are you going to get it? That could be something simple as, I just want a simple life in the country, and I want to grow a vegetable patch, which is perfectly fine. I've got friends who do that, and they've got an amazing life and they're happy. Yeah. Simple plan like that. But if you're constantly finding unhappy and you're trying to beat the neighbor and getting the latest sports car, or keeping up with the Joneses, or getting a bigger job to get more money to buy the next handbag, whatever it is that truly going to make you happy? that's what you have to find out. What's going to make you happy? For me, it's what drives me is if I can turn this around, how can I help others? So I'm just a normal guy. And how can I help other people, whether it's mental health, which is obviously huge right now because of the pandemic, and I've been there, everybody has down days. And what do you do? If you want to become fitter, what do you do? Go out running. So if you're feeling down regularly, how do you come up that mindset of being down? You have to figure out how to make yourself feel better, feel happy. It's not like sit there, I need to be happy. If you do that, well, good luck. You're not going to be happy just sitting there thinking to be happy. You're going to figure out, how am I going to be happy? What things do I need to do or change? And there's very briefly, there's something I heard a few months ago, and it's a real thing. It's called the unexplained mind. Your permanent roommate, which is your mind. We all sit there and you hear somebody talking to yourself. That's yourself, right? Yeah. So whatever you're telling yourself every day at that moment in time, that's you. That's what you're going to become. And so you got to listen to that thing and you got to change it. Say, right, you know what? I'm going to get a better job, or I'm going to help more people, or I'm going to be healthy with what I do, or I need to reconnect with people who I've lost connections with. If you're not reassessing who you're close to or who your friends are, then you need to look at that and see, right, how can I have the less stress and how can I be more positive? How can I have like, for example, what you're doing right now. You're now connecting with all these different people. You're creating this, this chai chat thing, which is an amazing move. You're now helping other people talk, and you have an amazing ability to connect to humans, to get them to talk about themselves and how they handle chronic illnesses and other things. And that in itself.
Thank you very, very much. I really, really appreciate that, Surbs. That's very kind and generous and warm of you to say that. I think what hit me when you were talking was this idea of what is one's definition of happiness, or what is one's definition of success? What does that look like? What is that recipe in our life? And, again, I would agree with the disclaimer that for some people, for many, an illness will need medication and intervention. And for some people, it's, it stays in a particular zone, and things just simply because of their condition are not able to improve. But what I really wanted to showcase, and I very much appreciate you participating, is the full kind of remit of chronic illnesses, just taking 2 or 3 people and hearing their journeys and what can happen in these conditions and what experiences people have. And, I very, very much appreciate you sharing that. I'd like to just finish with, Surbs, today, what you might like to say to anyone who's managing a chronic illness and your story resonates with them, because there will be people that will watch this. And obviously, if you want to share any information, we can put that up on the YouTube program after, any links to any sites that you think would be helpful. But I really want to get, from an expert patient that you are, or an expert human in what you've learned through your journey, what would you like to say to others?
I think one of the biggest things, and the number one thing to help, first thing first, is to have a close network to talk to. That's really important, no matter what stage, whether you've just been diagnosed or whether you're on a journey, whether it's getting worse or better, whatever it is, you have someone to talk to about this. Because, I, for many years, did, even though my wife, I knew what was going on, I preferred not to, For me, it was an internal battle. That's one probably thing I didn't do. I didn't really talk to it about somebody, and it only really went public with this. Obviously, a lot of my parents obviously knew. They're no longer here. They knew, and my sister and my brother know. But apart from that, nobody growing up, very few people knew my journey about the diagnosis when I was 26 and all that kind of stuff. And that includes pretty much all my wife's family. They had no clue. I was very unsure to go online with this, and I did. So having admitted, having that close network to talk to, talk to people about it. It's really important. And then the next thing would be is to be positive in how to overcome it. Whether, now if it's a degradation condition, which can't get better, which unfortunately some of them are, you can have the pain and management of that condition to manage it over the time, right?
Yeah.
Find out what that is. NHS, like I said, are amazing, and the support there is phenomenal. If you're in a situation where it's like, look, you've got pre-diabetic, or look, you've got low levels CKD or liver issue, you need to change your lifestyle. You can change it. Look into the nutrition. Nutrition, whatever you feed your body, is going to affect any condition that you have, whether it's mental health or physical health. Nutrition is possibly the most important alongside mental health. Have a plan. Whether it's meditation, whether it's thinking about, where am I right now? I know it's like a cliche, what am I doing with my life right now? Where am I in my life? Is this midlife crisis? What is this? But if you actually write things down, like, here I am now, what have I been proud of? Which is always good to look at. What have I done in my life, which is great. But how am I doing now that I'm proud of? Who am I helping? Am I helping myself? Am I helping people around me? And then what can I do? What's the future? What am I doing in the next 6 months, 12 months? Break it down. How can I help myself? And by doing that, by feeding your brain, your soul, your mindset, you're releasing the good hormones into your body, which in effect will help aid, your condition. The nutrition, the mental will help your condition. If it's a low level condition where, if you're pre-diabetic, your doctor is saying, look, you better cut back on the carbs and the sugar, then you know what you've got to do. But if that's not what they're going to do, it's easy to say that to somebody, but it's not just the physical thing of eating. It's what's causing you want to eat that donut or eat that sugar or do that kind of thing. It's, build your mind map almost of what am I doing to make myself happy? And that is the key. It's nutrition and your mind, and everything else will come. And obviously stay fit. But it's the mind, really, in my opinion, and nutrition that will help any condition. And that includes mental health.
Thank you. I mean, it's been a really inspiring afternoon chatting with you, Surbs, and I can't thank you enough for your time today. It's really, really meant a lot. And, I'd like to do probably one more segment on a chronic illness. So again, another shout out to anyone who may manage a chronic illness and would like to have a conversation with me. Please contact me through my YouTube channel or directly if you have personal contact with me. But I'd like to wish you all the very best for the future. I cannot wait to see what happens next in your world and in your relentless challenge arena. And as someone who is a family friend to your wife, I am incredibly proud of what you've achieved and where you're at. So keep doing your amazing things, Surbs, and keep shining out there. And I look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for inviting me.
All best.
Yes.
Thanks now. Take care.